highlights the keywords as blue. What have I done here? Let me briefly explain this. This right here, this part of the code basically declares the variables. Okay, so you can see that this dim statement says, okay, we're going to need a variable weight, height for BMI, and they declare one called X, okay, which I don't even know if they use that or not. We'll see. As a single, which is a type of number. All right. This is an assignment statement. Weight equals cells 2, 2. Now, this is a way to reference cell 2, 2. Okay, this is a way to reference cell 3, 2. In the book, they do it a different way, so I'm going to show you both ways. I should be able to change the code, and it should do the same thing. So we'll look at that. So it's going to read the value from 2, 2, put it into the variable weight. It's going to read the value from 3, 2, put it into the variable height, and store it there. So now these two variables, which are kind of like boxes if you think about it, this is a box labeled weight, this is a box labeled height, and they contain the values of whatever's been placed in them. In this case, this assignment statement with the equal sign says, whatever's in the cell, put it in this variable. Whatever's in that cell, put it in this variable. Now we're doing an assignment saying BMI is going to equal the weight divided by the height squared, which is our formula for BMI. Okay, wonderful. So now it's going to do the other direction. This is also assignment statement, but what it says, whatever's on the left of the assignment statement is what gets the value. So that means that this will be the container for the value. So cell 42 is going to get the result of this. Round is a function that rounds the value to one significant digit. So it's going to round that BMI, okay, to basically no decimal points. If I remember right, that's what it does. And our BMI, now we have an if statement. As we've seen in our coding, if is conditional. If something happens, then do something else. If the BMI is less than or equal to 15, then it's going to do this. It will put in cell 5-2 under weight. If, or I should say else if, which is his second condition, else if it's greater than 15 and, okay, both things, greater than 15 and less than or equal to 25. So both of those have to be true for this then to happen. Then it will put optimum weight in that cell, meaning you're between these two. And then else, now an else means just if it's not this thing, if it's not this thing, everything else. So an else catches everything else. If anything else, okay, if it's not this and it's not this, then the else will come into play. Else do this. Cells C2, again, it's going to put into 5-2, I'm sorry, overweight for that. Okay, so according to that BMI, if you're over 25 here, then you're going to be overweight. Ends the if statement, so we know it began and ended, right? Here's the beginning of it, the if, and here's the end. Now, what I probably would want to do here is indent this. Okay, notice now that I've indented that, you can easily see where the if begins and the if ends. That's proper indentation of code. If you're going to be professional programmers, you'd want to pay more attention to that. All right, so there we go. So we declare the variables here with the dim statement, put the values into the variables, and then do the calculation, and finally display the answers. So what should happen, if this is done correctly, is when I put in the values, it should work. Okay. Now, I'm going to go back to my code window, or I'm sorry, I'm in the code window. I'm going to go back to the Excel window. Now, it's in design mode right now, so it's not going to do anything, so I need to turn it off, design mode, so now it will actually do what's in here. Okay, well, kilograms, again, weight in kilograms. Let's say somebody weighed 65 kilograms, and in meters, they were 1.7 meters tall. Okay, so we click calculate, and it's going to give us our BMI for that person. Okay, 65 kilograms and 1.7 meters tall gives you a BMI of 22.5, okay, giving one decimal digit there, and optimum weight. Okay, well, let's say they weighed more than that. Let's say they weighed 100 kilograms, which is over 200 pounds. Now it's going to give me a BMI of 34.6, overweight, and let's say they weighed 35 kilograms. Now they're underweight, BMI. Of course, they probably would be dead. I don't think you could be that thin. But anyway, maybe it's possible. That's basically doing it according to the assignment. We cut and pasted it in there, and it works when we hit the calculate button. So there you go. Now, really quickly, let me go in here and do how they assign values in the book. Okay, they're using a different type of assignment statement. Okay, and this is cell, I forget where they're getting weight from, B2? I think it's B2. So we'll put in B2. Okay, now we want to get the value. Notice it helps me complete this statement here. We want to get the value of B2. Okay, so this is how we're doing it in the book. It's exactly the same thing. This range B2 value gets the value from cell B2. Okay, this cells 3-2 gets the value from 3. Let me look at it. Get it backwards. Okay, 3 rows down and 2 columns over. Right. Okay. So make sure I do the right. So 3 down and 2 over. That's the same thing. So I can also replace this with B3 here. Okay, and that should do exactly the same thing. So it should still work, but now I'm using the different method just to match what they say in the book, basically, so I can get that value. Okay, so I changed the code back here. Okay, and I hit calculate. Well, let me change some values so it'll look like we did something. And it still works. Okay, so both of those methods are ways to access data in a cell, whether we use that range value or whether we say cells and say that. So they're both doing the same thing. Either way, all you had to do really was cut and paste that code in there into the button procedure, and it would automatically calculate your BMI. There you go.